So the wording that Robert Trivers used for a situation like this is what he calls high parental investment. High parental investment. It takes a lot of help from mom and dad to raise the offspring because the offspring are very helpless when they are young. They need a lot of help. The species is very altricial. And what Trivers said is if you have parental investment, that can be seen as high or low, you will have a different kind of mating system. And if you have high parental investment, the mating system that you tend to have is what's called a long-term mating system. So here is something interesting. In robins, which is true in a lot of bird species, the mom and dad stay together for the entire year. And sometimes even the next year, they will find each other. They will go all the way from New York. So this is the United States here. We live in New York. In the winter, it's very cold in New York. All the robins will fly down to the south, to Florida, to Texas, to warmer places. And then in spring each year, they somehow know to come all the way back to our backyard, sometimes even to the same exact nest. And sometimes they will come back with the same partner. But they certainly stay with the same partner for the entire mating system. So mom and dad form what is called a pair bond. In the pair bond, they're not just with each other for a day or for a night. They are with each other for a long period of time. That is why we call this long-term mating. So in a species where you have high parental investment, you tend to get long-term mating. Let me tell you about another example. You can have an example of what is called low parental investment. I gotta erase that guy, sorry. I want to miss him. A low parental investment species is a species where the parents do not help at all or provide very little help to the offspring. Example, Pacific salmon. There are a lot of kinds of Pacific salmon. That is a fish that has babies in freshwater, in the stream, up into the rivers, and then those babies go and live in the sea, in the ocean for several years, and then after, I think it depends on the species, but after about 4 years they will come back to the same freshwater stream where they came from in the first place. They're very cool and they're big. They can get up to about 2 or 3 feet long, about 1 meter. Pacific salmon. Pacific salmon have a very interesting end of their life. When the salmon come back to the stream, when they are big, full adults, and they're often very brightly colored, they go up the stream as far as they can. If there are waterfalls, if there are rocks, if there are predators, they go as fast as they can in a giant group of salmon. And they also mate during that process. They find other salmon and they release their zygotes, they release their gametes, their eggs and their sperm, which leads to a ball of fertilized eggs. And after they have the fertilized eggs. They're not like robins. They don't come back and help. They don't help them every day and try to get them food. They die. The mom and the dad, after they reproduce, shortly after die, and then, could it get worse? Yes. Then they get eaten by grizzly bears. Often. That's not good parenting. Pacific salmon have very low parental investment. They make lots of eggs, lots of fertilized eggs. The fertilized eggs go into a big ball that is filled with jelly, and it goes down the stream, goes down the river. Sometimes it gets eaten by frogs, sometimes it gets eaten by other fish, sometimes it gets eaten by bears, and mom and dad are dead. Only a small number of the eggs will lead to an actual fish. And there's enough of them that survive that they're a very common species. They taste very good. And then those young ones will come out to the sea, and a few years later will come back to that same freshwater stream, and they've been doing this for millions of years in this same way. Think about the kind of parenting. Who would you rather have for mom or dad? A salmon or a robin? I would pick the robin. But species differ. Animals, organisms differ in terms of how much parental attention they give or they invest in their offspring. In species that have a low parental investment, there is no long-term mating. There is what Robert Trivers calls short-term mating. The mom and dad are together for 5 minutes at the most, and that is it. In robins, where there is high parental investment, you tend to have a pair bond that lasts for a very long time. And in salmon, characterized by low parental investment, the mom and dad, the mother and father, stay together for a short amount of time. The general principle is that high parental investment leads to long-term mating, and low parental investment leads to short-term mating. I will give you 2 quick ideas about how this applies to the human experience. So Trivers published this in the early 1970s, and then how, we can ask this question, how does parental investment theory apply to humans? So how does parental investment theory apply to humans? There's 2 basic ideas, and I'll just give these to you to think about. Number 1, humans are altricial. Like robins. Our offspring are very helpless when they are born. They need a lot of help, and one parent is often not enough to provide that amount of help. Usually multiple adults, often including dad, needed the help. Point number 2, in humans, like in a lot of species, females tend to have higher required parental investment than males do. Females are the ones who get pregnant. They have to carry the baby. They have to go through childbirth, which is very intensive. They feed the baby for the first several years. And males have lower required parental investment. So maybe males and females in humans differ in their mating strategy in terms of long and short-term mating, partly because in humans, females have higher required parental investment than males do. There's something to think about. This has been Evolution with Glenn.